two youngest people that you ever did see. Younger than springtime or a newborn baby. And the show is gonna surely make you shout. Yes, ma'am. We're talking about 5 questions with James and Jam. Yeah, that's it. Uh-huh. Hello, everyone. This is 5 Questions with James and Jam. I'm John Andrew Morrison, known as Jam. And that magnificent, delicious human you're seeing is...
Sybil Shepherd.
Otherwise known as...
James Jackson Jr.
Hello, everybody. And look who is on the screen with us today. The magnificent, the glorious, the talented, the scintillating, the delicious... Mr. Yes. Gavin Creel. Wild applause, wild applause,
yes.
Wild applause.
We stand.
How are you doing? How are you doing? Where are you? How are you?
I'm blissed out. I'm blissed out to be with the two of you. I'm just I'm actually in a good place. 2023 has started off, and I'm the only sad thing. Well, one of the saddest things that has happened in 2023 is your show coming to a close. And we were talking before we started. I'm forever grateful. I just want to say it publicly to anybody who's watching and listening. I'm so grateful for the two of your and all of your cast's incredible work and that beautiful show.
Thank you.
I can see it right over your shoulder, James. There it is. Right there.
I got some things framed.
As it should be. As it should be.
I have to make space on wall. My entire dressing room is literally right behind this couch.
Yep.
I have to do something about that.
I'll leave it up for a long time because I just want to stay in the glow of what I saw you all at the Woolly Mammoth.
Yes.
When I was driving through to go to the Hermitage Artist Retreat to do some writing, and I stopped in TC to see a friend, and there you were, and I was like, and there were 2 seats left in the front row. And I was saying earlier that I used to listen to your cast recording from Playwrights, I think is where the first one. And you've since made another cast recording, right?
Yeah. The Broadway cast,
Broadway cast recording. Yeah. I got to listen to that, but I listened to that during the pandemic, and it was healing to me. And it's so refreshing to know that musical theater can still be healing to this jaded old queen.
Isn't that such a weird thing?
Yes.
We've always gone back to that rock as a thing. And so why would it stop? Of course it can still be soothing. And we forget that. We're the first ones to forget that, this means something to people.
Yeah.
So we're
lucky
for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
It was very nice. We got, because of the show, we got invited to see a show yesterday. And and the 2 people were so excited that we were there. They were like, "Oh my God, you came!" And we're like, "It's
you've invited
James
us."
and I." And then like people in the audience came up. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you don't know what it." And so it was really nice to kind of hear it and receive it.
Are you able to take it in? Is that?
I just spoke to my therapist about an hour ago about how I have. So after the show closed a week and 2 days ago now, and I went immediately to the beach. We went to an island off of an island, and I sat in the sand and the sun and the waves and the stuff, and I felt it leaving my system. So I have made space in my body, is what I've learned, to receive things like that. And my therapist is trying to tell me, you were that person all along. But if we did that, then the Wizard of Oz would have been over.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just
so I'm learning to receive it. But it is, I said to Jam yesterday at dinner before the show that what we did is super, super special. And it means so much to people.
Yeah.
So even the sadness that it is over, it is okay to be sad.
Yeah.
But it is so special to hear what our little thing did that we worked on for all these years means to so many people. It's so very special to hear that.
I mean, I could take it in even during the show because there are like a couple moments that I remember specifically. I'll remember when we left Playwrights one night, and there was this beautiful. I mean, he must have been a model. This beautiful white kid, and he was slumped, up against the side of the building.
Yeah.
Just in tears, sobbing. And I was like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, you all just I don't know what you did, but you released something for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget that. Like maybe the week before we closed, this man came up to me after the show again, just and he went, "Thank," and he couldn't get the "you," he just
Out.
burst into tears. And
Ah.
so I ended up just like hugging him, and he was like, I feel like you healed something today.
Mm. I think
And
what I've learned, if you
it's
make
so
space
beautiful.
for different types of stories, it seems to make space in other people.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And
there's
your story,
something to
this
relish in that.
the story that you were all telling it's never been given, and I want it to go on forever. I
I
want it to
know.
run
I
for 80
know.
years, but the thing is, it will run, maybe not in that building, but that
Hmm.
recording, those recordings, your stories, you're also going to be 90 and people are going to be reacting this way,
Talking
but
about what
Yeah.
we did.
exactly. And that's the beauty of what we all get to do in the theater. But
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you did specifically with that story, with Michael's words and music and book, and I'm that white queer. I'm not a model, but I'm slumped. I'm slumped. And I also have to tell you, my like sitting there feeling not exactly identifying with every single thing, right? But
Mm.
still feeling weirdly, no, not weirdly, seen. Like
Yeah.
I was like, this is for me too. And my friend
Yeah.
who was with me, who was sitting next to me at one point, and he's not a crier in the way that I know him to be.
Mm.
There was a moment in your play where I just felt his hand kind of trying to find mine. We've never done this. And he grabbed onto my hand and I looked over and he's like, like he's trying to stay silent. And it was during maybe the most explicit moment. Like
Hmm.
that walk. What is that? What's the song?
The
Uh
Inwood Daddy
it
walk
was
of
that
shame
whole
after that.
scene. It
Yeah.
was through the whole scene and the way that why did I do that? What did it do for
Yeah.
Yeah.
me?
What
And
did that do for me?
yeah,
Yeah.
and just being able to hold space, he and I
Hmm.
both for a moment like that you never see that queer story put on stage.
No.
And I just I literally get this entire thing is going to be talking about how brilliant you are and how wonderful your show is. I've got 5 questions for you. I'll forever be grateful. I'm just so
Thank
grateful
you.
for both
Thank
of
you
your
so much.
brilliant, hilarious, touching work. It's so beautiful.
Oh my
It
God.
really
All
means
right.
so
Well,
much.
Gavin, you are the focus. You are
Yes.
the reason for the season. And so we're going to turn the tables and the spotlight
Yes.
right back to you, you
Okay.
magnificent, wonderful creature. Um, all right. So I have the first question because,
Yes.
yeah, walk on through. Oh my gosh. It
Oh
felt
man.
like the biggest privilege to be able to go to the signature and see that presentation of it that you did. Um, it's magnificent. It's
Thank you so much.
magnificent. So if you can you tell us a little bit about Walk On Through? And I guess my question is, did you know when you were walking through the Met,
Mm.
did you know you were writing a musical? Was that the intention? Was that, or was it, you went there to heal something, to do something else, and then you're like, oh, it's a
Yes,
musical.
I'm
it's
writing
a
a musical.
it's a great question. The short pitch for most people don't know what it
Mm.
is.
Yeah.
I'm writing I'm calling it like a theatrical concert, like a theatrical piece. Uh, that is I was originally asked in 2019 by a friend of mine said, "Hey, they do this thing called the Met Live Arts Series at the Met, which is a performance art based thing. They have musicians, opera singers, composers, pop people, a couple musical theater people have been, including me. They give you a membership card to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they say, have at it. And when you come up with an idea, tell us, and we'll help you present it." That's basically the whole premise.
Wow.
Wow.
It's see how the museum inspires you and bring the museum to your medium. And my medium is obviously storytelling and musical theater, right? But the truth was, y'all, I had never been to the Met before. And I was embarrassed at 40 some years old. Here I am in New York City, living there after 20 years. And then I realized when they said, so what's your idea? After about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 months of me just wandering around, taking notes,
Mm,
I said to the women in charge, Lemore Tomer and Erin Flannery, I said, I think the only truth I can tell is that I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. And to answer your question, Jim, it was that while I was exploring this idea, it sort of bubbled out of me. I sort of let the songs tell me where the story was going, and it ended up being just about. And then I got that in 2019, and then I had a really painful separation right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, and I was sort of frozen in grief.
mhm,
And that's sort of what it's turned into is, weirdly, it's written itself after the fact and said, do you have the courage to tell people what you're feeling and what you're going through?
Hmm.
So it's basically an exploration on art and love and life and loneliness and
mm,
what that all means. And it's still forming. We did that presentation, and I'm already rewriting some stuff, but the hope is that we're going to find a theater to partner with to do like a limited run either in New York or out of town or something. And then I want to tour it around the world. I want to play these songs and tell this story with my amazing band in Chicago and Melbourne and London and Berlin. And I want to be able to go
right.
around the world and do it. And then at one point, hopefully stop back on Broadway and do like a limited run.
I mean,
That's the hope.
it was really tremendous, and
Thank
you're
you.
talking about people don't talk about loneliness enough, and
Oh,
it
Especially
is
after what we just went through.
yeah.
yeah.
Doesn't that seem weird? I think
Yeah.
it's the bravest thing that anyone could do. First, it's to just talk about what you're feeling at all and just share that with someone. But we all just went through something that we had never gone through ever. Not
Hmm.
that our parents had been through, or our grandparents. It's something that was, I'm so tired of the word unprecedented, but it was literally unprecedented.
Hmm.
And there's this thing about you're not supposed to talk about certain aspects of it. And the loneliness that I have friends that spent the entire thing in their apartments by themselves
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
now terrified. I mean, none of us know how to go out and function in public anymore.
I know.
I used to be great at a dinner party. I suck now. I
Dude,
talk
why?
about the,
Why?
I think I don't have I left my filter somewhere like on March 12th, the day before the shutdown of things.
Yeah.
And
You barely had a filter to begin with.
it
Let's
wasn't, it didn't, it,
let's
it wasn't a great fitting filter, but I had one. Um, and now I walk into spaces and everything is falling out of my mouth.
Mm,
Um, and I wish that we could just spend a little time to acknowledge that. So when I've been so curious about the art and the creation that comes out of this period of wiping down groceries and
yeah.
feeling like, is this literally how it ends?
Yeah.
Is this I had so many other visions of how
Mm.
things might wrap up. I thought there'd be a TV movie with Nancy McKee playing me, or and I think that we need to talk about those things more. And I
Yeah.
think it's super brave to channel that into something
Thank you.
that is still in our wheelhouse in this
but
world of musical theater, in this world of storytelling.
I
Storytelling.
mean,
Yeah.
pandemic aside, too, I feel like that human beings have those like dark nights of the soul. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like
Mm-hmm.
it's something that we don't ever acknowledge that, oh, no, 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 that's part of our humanity is that we have these moments where we feel lonely or we feel this or we feel that. But there are ways for us to interact with it or deal with it or get to the other side of it. And like it was such a beautiful example of like you kind of dealing with your own humanity and your own heart, your own
Mm-hmm.
spirit, and going, no, I can get through to the other side of this. And I just
Yeah.
I I could not stop talking about this
Oh,
show.
that means the
Oh my
world to me.
goodness.
I can't.
I
And
like
also, tit for tat, because I haven't stopped talking about your show for like years. And
Thank
and
you.
and
Thank
weirdly,
you.
what you said, like the healing of something, to be able to. That's what you did. You stood on that stage and you called up all of your own personal stuff to serve that
Mm-hmm.
material. And
Yeah.
therefore I felt seen. And
yeah.
there's a line in
It's a
the
weird loop in and of itself.
it totally is. What I crave anymore in theater is that feeling of of connection, but connection in the sense
Absolutely.
of are you able to share something that's maybe unshareable or a little dark or a little,
Right.
oof.
Isn't it why we all got into this in the first place, in a way?
Yeah. Yeah. And the
Isn't it?
attention. We love the attention
I mean,
too.
well, it's
Oh
a,
yeah,
but
I love the
it's learning.
applause. I'm not gonna lie.
Me
It's
neither.
kind
Clap
Me
of
for
neither.
me.
balance. Well, that's part of the next question too. Of like, how did you find musical theater? Like, why is that the thing? Why is
Musical theater.
we all found the freaks at some point. We were like, oh, my
Yep.
people.
My
It's
people.
like, so
Yeah.
what's your origin story with like
That's a
why musical theater?
mine. I was a church. I grew up Methodist, and I was in all the
Mm.
church choirs, bell choir, honey, bell
Mm.
choir, Carolier Crusader choir, choral choir.
Oh my goodness.
That was me all growing up, every Sunday, and then going home. And this is kind of the musical theater that I write. If church was musical theater introduction, and then school, I was learning in 5th and 6th grade choir, glee club, and ensemble from Nancy
Mhm.
Glick, Jefferson Elementary School on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings before
Oh
school
my goodness.
started, meeting all these composers and playing songs and learning 3-part harmony at 9 and 10 years old. But like
Oh.
from church,
Wow.
the other side of it was I was a pop head. I loved pop music. I still do. And I would come home from church on Sundays to race home before I missed the top 10 of the top 40.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Like Casey Kasem, Rick
Yes.
Dees, Shadow
Yes.
Stevens,
Yeah.
and like
Yes.
doing my Sunday chores as slowly as I could on the front porch, like sweeping really slowly so that I could hear, is it going to be Bananarama with Venus this week? Is it going to, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like, and so I found theater. I guess I found theater like you do, like, oh, who's auditioning for the musical in high school? So I found it that way,
Mhm.
the more literal. But I found the theater that I love by blending the records that my parents would play, Camelot and South Pacific and all these golden age musical theater scores, with Whitney Houston, like my hero
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so it's like I'm always trying to find a blend of those two when I write, is that it's theater, story songs, but I want it to follow the pop form because I just love pop
Mhm.
music. So that's
Oh.
kind of it. And also Patti LuPone's recording of Being Alive from the 1991 Carnegie
Oh.
Hall
Yep.
celebration.
I know the one.
That I watch that still to this day ad nauseum, in her little sensible culotte pantsuit and her shoulder padded
Yes.
sequins,
Right.
and her like being alive and like turning to Paul Giamatti, I'm not ready to cut off. I'm not ready to cut
I'm
off.
not ready.
And cut off. You know, it's the greatest. The greatest.
It's so interesting that so many of us have these same clips and moments and beats as part of the foundation of our origin stories,
What are
but we
yours?
didn't find it out until 20 years later, where we're
Oh
like, oh,
yeah.
you too?
Yes.
You too? Yes.
But what are some of yours? Like, is there like a recording? I mean, Jennifer Holliday's recording of And I'm Telling You is the one that we watched in college. We were like, well,
Yep.
this is the greatest
Over and
recording
Yeah.
over.
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine, I have two. Melba Moore sitting in the big rocking chair,
The chair.
playing
Yes.
in Pearly, singing
Yes.
"I Got Love" is one, and then the other is Nell Carter, who, because I could then relate that to my babysitter, which was television. I can
Yeah.
relate that to "Give Me a Break." So watching Nell Carter sing "Mean to Me" and not
Yes.
knowing why I was crying,
Oh.
I was like, "Wait, you're
And that
mean to me. Like, why must you be mean to? Gee, honey, it seems to me you love to see me crying, and I'm like 6, and I'm like, why am I crying?
oh
What am I feeling?
wow.
I'm feeling
Wow.
something. So those two things. It's Melba
Wow.
Moore and it's Nell Carter, and then it's probably learning that Andre DeShields existed.
In the world. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't have a picture. I had a picture, but I didn't have like an idea of like who was this person maneuvering through the world. And then to see him in Ain't Misbehaving on videos too was just like how it. But I think you're like me, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
So let me just put that somewhere here. Those are my origin
Incredible.
story videos.
How
Um,
about you, Jim?
I mean, so for sure, Jennifer Holliday. Um,
Mhm.
Also a Patti LuPone moment. Her doing that crazy Evita on the Tonys. Going like what is
What's happening?
happening? Like
I know.
what is happening? There was something so like thrilling and crazy and dangerous about it
Yep.
that I like. It's one of those that I would just like kind of like just be like, what, like, how are you doing that? How are you generating all of that? That was
Yeah.
absolutely kind of fascinating to me. But
Yeah.
that's one of those. I just during the pandemic, I taught a musical theater class at a college in Jamaica, and that was one of the clips that I showed, and they were like, "What is this?" Because
They're like
yeah,
same reaction. Again,
Yep.
yeah,
an example of all these years later, your your cast recording, your story, your everything is going to
Mhm.
affect generations that have not even been born yet.
I know.
That's the
I know.
power of what we do. We're so lucky.
yeah.
It's not a power I take lightly. It's pretty spectacular.
Can I ask, because you've been singing then for a long time. You've been doing choirs and da 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 da.
Mm.
Hmm.
When this is something I've been kind of wanted to ask everybody. Um, when was the moment you realized that you had a voice? When was this moment that you kind of like went, "Oh, I do this thing and it's kind of pleasing," or people respond in a way that, hmm,
Yeah.
there's a there.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a day when the switch turns on.
yeah, but
Yeah.
And you're
because
like, oh.
you maybe see it, or you like hear it in yourself, and you go, "Oh, there's this thing called a voice that I have." Like, do you all have a
I
moment?
I have two that come to mind. One was
Mm.
early. I used to listen to my sister's cassette tapes of the choir glee club and ensemble concerts of like the holiday concert and the spring concert. And there was this girl, Beth Pulaski, who used to sing,
Mhm.
"In my Easter bonnet with all the thrills upon it, I'll be the
Mm.
grandest lady in the Easter parade." And her voice was so dead center of the pitch and so clear. I was obsessed with this girl's voice.
Mm.
She was just like a student. When I sang Gary, Indiana, and I listened back to it, and I mean this in the least modest way possible. I listened to it and I went, "Oh, I sound a little bit like Beth Pulaski. I'm in the center of that pitch."
Oh.
And
Mm.
I was able to recognize it a little for myself. That's probably the earliest memory I have where I was like, "Oh, I think that's pretty good." The other one that came to mind, and he just passed away, was my Bio 2 teacher, who was not involved in the arts at all. And
Mm.
his he was one of my babysitters growing up. They lived down the street. They're like close family friends. He, in Bio 2 class, when we're like dissecting frogs or whatever, calls me up to the front while we're all busy and everybody's doing lab. "Hey, I just have to talk to you for a second." I'm like, "What happened?" And I know him as Mr. Barnhill, who babysat me when I was in kindergarten. So,
Mhm.
you have to, that you have the relationship with the teacher or history, and you're like, you don't want to act like you know each other too much because students will make
Right.
fun of you. But he said privately up the front of the class without people listening, he said, "I hear you're doing really well in the musical." And I was like, "What?" And
Oh.
that it dawned on me that other people were talking about me without me around. And
Mhm.
that was a big moment for me where I was like, "Oh, someone told the Bio 2 teacher, or he heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody that I'm good, or that
He
I'm
read your
doing."
reviews.
Yeah, before
You
the
know.
show, I was in rehearsal. So it was
Right.
just this neat thing that it came back to me and I will be honest, that's something I'm chasing now, is trying to figure out, less so now. When I turned 35, I had a big come to Jesus where I was like, "Do I even like what I'm doing? Or do I
Mm.
do it because I have lived a life so far of getting extrinsic approval and
Mm.
validation?
Mm.
And do I even like this?" And I had a real dark night of the soul of,
Mhm.
I don't know that I do. And if I got to figure out to like it or to let it go. And
Hmm.
thankfully, I'm still on that journey now. But being addicted to what you hear other people loving about you is really deceptive, and it is part of it.
Mhm.
They're
It's
all
part
things.
of it. It's where
It
you
can't be
file it.
Can't be all of it. Exactly. It can't be
No.
front and center all the time, or else all I'm doing is chasing, "Did you like me? Do you think I'm great? Do you think I'm great?"
Right.
Which I've spent
Right.
a lot of energy doing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's easy. And look at where we live, and look at how we have to go get the job, and how we have to go do the job. It it's easy to fall into that and to start measuring things.
Yeah.
And there's no point in measuring. There's
Did you
Yeah.
did
literally.
you did you
You're
have a
right.
moment like that, James, where you're like, I can do this thing called singing.
I think I had I this is again something I probably should have spoken about 2 hours ago in therapy. I think I have control issues. My first thing was my mother playing the piano and me sitting next to her turning pages. So I realized, like, and she would play with this of like, watch, if I speed up the tempo, this happens. Watch, if I slow this down, this happens. And I would see people in the room, their emotions would change.
Wow.
So, oh, I can stop this person from, oh, someone's rambling on too long at the funeral. Let me actually start the music. And then the person stops talking. And I
Mm,
remember realizing at a very young
power.
age, oh, my mother did that. First of all, I thought she was a magician and could do anything, but she started playing a thing. And then we needed that person to shut up. And my mother got that to happen. Or I remember my father was a Mason, my mother was in the Eastern Star, so there was a lot of like playing of things with old people marching. And my mother was in charge of doing that. And I remember watching her play and have to adjust tempos, and it affected how fast or slow people marched into the room.
Oh, wow.
So I got addicted to that. My third grade play was the first time I was on stage. No, that kindergarten was one. But I realized that what I said or did or sang, there was just a response, not applause. I fell off the stage in my third grade play. I was supposed to have a death scene. I was playing a cat that went and sat up on a roof to read a love letter, and his heart is broken, and he's supposed to die on the stage. And I rolled off the little fake roof onto the stage, but I kept rolling and fell into the audience. And people
Nice.
did all of the things. They gasped, they laughed, then the show went on. And I was like, oh, I did that. And
Yeah.
it became a disease, a drug, a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
And then I learned how to
Um,
balance it out. I still have control issues, but I learned how to balance a lot of that out. That was the
Well,
bug for me.
that's also what's going to make you a great comedian, a great performer, understanding that energy and that relationship.
Yeah.
But you were
And I
getting it at
still do it. I love
that
listening
age.
to an audience and figuring out, like, I'm very big on, oh, they need this right now.
Mm.
Oh, someone in the orchestra needs to cry. Okay, please hold. Like, I love that thing. I want to hear the ice clinking in your glass. I want to smell the French fries. I want to like all of the things. I like
Wow.
listening to an audience still so very much.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my God. Well, I'll share.
Please do.
I
Please. What was
I
yours?
so I kind of always suspected that there was this thing that I could do called singing, but I hid it because the thing
Mm.
that I had wanted to do when I was very, very young was dance, and like that was not
Really?
allowed. I wanted to dance so badly.
Where did you
And
grow up?
I grew up in Kingston, Jamaica. And
Ah.
I have a very macho, manly father. And I remember once like stepping into a dance class and my mom coming and going, no, 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 can't do that,
Nope, nope,
can't do
nope.
that.
Ah.
And so I remember there was this moment where I was like, I think I can. And I had one of these little flatbed tape recorders and I would like whisper sing. And I was like, there's something interesting about that. And finally, this junior musical theater company was auditioning. And I begged and begged and begged and begged. And finally my dad relented. And the only thing that I knew that we had the Barbara Streisand Broadway album.
As well
And
you
so
should.
Yeah.
and so,
You're not a
so
monster.
Yeah.
right. And
One
so
must.
I learned something's coming. And I took the record out of the jacket and I brought the jacket and used that as my lyric sheets in this
Oh my
audition.
gosh.
And I remember it was cloudy, it was getting set up to rain. And I started to sing, and now one of my best friend Jody Holong was in the room, and, like all the kids were there, and I started to sing, and she went, and I was
Wow.
like, "Oh, what is that?" And then at the end, I finished singing, and thunder rolled.
And it was, oh,
Oh.
that was it. That was it. It was divine.
That was it. God was like, yes, that. More, please.
And I was
Wow.
like, I think I can sing.
Oh, wow.
Look what God can do.
Oh my gosh.
I have a question about museum stuff because so I did the same thing. I was here for 15, 20 years already. No, this happened about 12 years in. I had a therapist on the Upper East Side. I live in New Jersey, and I chose this therapist because I was like, oh, it's a field trip for me. So, and
Huh.
it was like Tuesday mornings at like 10 a.m. Like I would have to physically go to the therapist on like 90th and Lex somewhere.
That's a journey,
And
James.
right, and I
That is not
loved it.
oh.
But it became part of the therapy for me.
Hmm.
And I'd take the train up there from the PATH train to the 6 and go all the way up there. But walking back, I would walk through Central Park or I would walk down Fifth Avenue sometimes. And I found these things that they have in New York called museums.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, maybe this is the time. So I would sometimes walk all the way back through Central Park, but sometimes I would stop. And the one that I always stopped at was the Guggenheim. And I didn't know anything about it. I was like, oh, it's just a round building. I like that. So
Hmm.
I would just go up to the top and walk my way down. And that was part of my journey back home after therapy. And I loved it. And it was part of the therapy for me. It was not just the 50-minute session. It was part of
Yeah.
the hour-long journey to get there and part of sometimes the 2-hour journey back to Jersey. It was all part of a thing. It was a meditation for me. It was very spiritual. And I wonder, like, what did you learn? Because I didn't know anything about what was
I
in the
didn't either.
Guggenheim. I didn't know. Like I was like, oh, that's what they do with like paintings. And okay, this is an installation of something. All right.
Hmm.
And you chose the Met, like the
Yeah,
museum.
the museum.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
what what did you learn about like how art is consumed?
Well,
Like,
you know what? I had like a few like Roman numeral takeaways and that
mm,
are sort of in the show. There's a theme that I sing at the beginning and I kind of sing a little throughout. It's called Where Am I? It just goes, Where am I in this place? Who am I meant to be in this world, in this space? Can I find me? And
mm,
I wrote that. It's super simple, but it's this. I was sort of thinking about if the three of us went to the Met together, why do I look at a painting and go, oh, and you go,
Mm,
meh, and you go, ugh.
right.
And I think I, my I also think there's something really great about people who don't know anything about something. Their
Hmm.
observations sometimes I think are the purest because there's no education that tells you how to feel. There's no learn. I didn't take an art appreciation course, so I'm told how to behave around art. There's a lot of behavior in museums.
Yes.
Just the people who rock up like you and I do, I think there's a lot of freedom in that. So I
Hmm.
sort of examine like what are people reacting to? And my thing was I think we're reacting to ourselves. I think they're all little mirrors. And when we see some part of ourselves, we go, huh, oh, I love it. But
Right.
whether I don't think it's like I love it because I know that the neoclassicism of the brushstroke, blah, 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 all that stuff I don't know.
Right.
I'm going on gut here. And I think like you being in that buzz of therapy, being opened up, being like
Hmm.
your soul, your mind, everything is sort of open for business. And then you're doing a meditation of a walk, and then you're going into a house of creativity. Creativity
Oh.
is
Hmm.
creativity is just openness and meditation vulnerably displayed. And I also love the other Roman numeral thing was there's a lyric in the opening number I wrote. The bridge goes, this is the part I see, legends of artistry all reaching through to now, crossing the spans of time. And with these hands, now I'm supposed to add somehow. I want to add somehow.
Mm.
And the thing is like the inadequacy I feel in front of these masterpieces. And then I thought about who were they? They're sitting in a room with a pen and a paper. They're sitting in a room with a quill and a scroll. They're sitting in a room with a brush and a
Yeah.
blank canvas. George Seurat Sunday. We've seen it in our world. And they're like, oh no, I want to make something, but I don't know how, and I don't know what I'm doing. They were there. Cezanne, one of the curators told me, Cezanne was painting so quickly he wouldn't even sign them. He would paint it and he'd throw the thing on the ground and start another one because he would go to Italy and do all these landscapes or whatever. And I thought,
Oh, wow.
wow, he didn't even take time to sign some of them. And And then there are other people who pine over, like Ugolino and his sons is Carpo did this sculpture that is the most beautiful thing in the Met. It's this, you got to see it. This man whose his sons and grandsons are all grabbing onto him, and he's chained to a plinth. He's been locked in a tower, and he's being told to choose between cannibalism or starvation. And it's this unbelievable marble statue where you can see the depressions of their fingers in this, and it looks so real. It looks like it's going to come alive. And he chiseled that thing for years, like worked on it for years. For me, the short answer of this is long answer is that I feel still humbled and allowed. I just am like, you can have you're allowed to have any reaction you want. There's no wrong reaction. And if Walk On Through does anything, it's to impress upon the people that watch is like, whatever you're feeling right now is valid. And you don't have to have any reaction. You don't have to like what I'm making, or you can be moved the way that Jam is so beautifully. I'm so grateful for that. But the truth is, you got to make it. If you want to be a creator and artist, you got to sit down and try to make it. You know?
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard what we do. Yeah. It's hard. It's scary.
I know.
Yeah. I
guess it's scary. It's a fear
it's
thing.
Vulnerable.
It's just
vulnerable.
Yeah. And it's the most basic thing in the world. Kids do it. Children do it. Child sees a child in the sandbox and is like, has no problem. I'm gonna go sit next to this other idiot in this box of dirt.
Other idiot.
And we're just let's make us something. And then you're gonna call the parents over and be like, look, me and this idiot made some stuff out of this dirt. And then the parents gush over it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And then God says, I'm gonna make it rain, and they destroy the thing that the two idiots made out of dirt.
Yeah. And now God says, now make it again.
Now
find it again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
what I love about about 8 shows a week. You can't hide behind it. You got to go out there and make it again. You can get high as you can off that audience, off what you feel, the magic.
That Tuesday audience.
Honey.
But yeah,
don't give them too much.
Don't give them too much, because you gotta give 7 times more.
Yeah.
And
I'll see you again.
You have to do it again. Yeah, you have to do it again. You have to do it again. You have to make it fresh once again for this new audience, because it's a new experience for them. I can't rest on my laurels. I have to do it as if it is the first time, because it is the first time for you. And I have to live it and make it as full, because it is probably the first time that you're seeing it. And there is something about that service and about making people feel something that is so exciting to me about it. I mean, the 8 show, there were days when I'm like, fuck this. But then somehow you would like see it in someone and you go, this is why I'm doing this.
It's for them.
It's for you. It's for you. It's not about me, and it's not about that I'm tired.
Yeah.
You're having an experience, and that's why I'm here. That's the gig. That's the job.
Yeah.
And there's something about that I love. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a dream.
Okay, so I want to go back to your songwriting, because the thing that I was like, I was like, oh yeah, so Gavin Creel's written some song. It didn't sound like a Jason Robert Brown. It didn't sound like a Stephen Sondheim. It sounded so specifically you, so specifically unique, and they were complicated and tuneful and earworms. And I was like, where did that, like, have you always written songs? Where did songwriting come from for you? And how, like, what is that process? Because what it felt like to me was like you have been co-creating a songwriting career along with the acting career that I didn't know about. But you know what I mean? But like maybe you've been doing it, but I did not know. I did not know. And I thought the songs were like, this Gavin Creel song is a bop. Like what is happening?
Man, thank you. Thank you so much. I need a manager, so can you just no? I'm kidding. At least a press rep. I mean, God,
right.
I wrote my first song when I was 20. I'm 46. I'll be 47 in April. So I have been writing for a while. I met my first real very influential, and still we write together. We haven't written in a while, but my first collaborator, my first collaborator was this amazing jazz pianist and Taylor Swift's musical director named David Cook. He's incredible. And we started writing together. And then I met probably my most influential longest partnership, Robbie Roth, who we made 2 little independent records together with. And then my other collaborator is Ben Cullum. You know Jamie Cullum,
Yeah.
the jazz. His brother is an incredible producer and songwriter, and we did a
Yeah.
third little independent record together. But then I had only really done, besides the very beginning when I wrote a few songs on my own, I really did collaboration, and it's hard because you have to balance your egos, you have to balance your contributions and talents and everything. But I learned a lot about songwriting and form and everything from Dave and Robbie especially, because have been writing together for a really long time, and Ben too. But then I wanted to branch off and see if I could do it all on my own again, and that's what these are. So, and I will say, this show, what I was originally going to do with Walk On Through, when I started, I decided to just say to them, I want to make a piece about a bunch of the art in the museum, and I want each song to be a different painting. And that terrified me because I thought, oh, Gavin, you are signing up for something very hard. But I gave myself the promise that I had a pile of songs that I'd never done anything with. And I said, I'm going to do 50% external in and 50% internal out. So that I will take, if I find a piece of art that I'm like, I walked into Thomas Hart Benton's, a room, it's a mural, 360 mural with a red ceiling. It's called America Today, and it's the development of America through the 30s. And I walked in, I was like, oh, this is the journey. I wrote a song about my first 3 years in New York City. And I was like, this is the energy of that song. So I was going to take a pre-existing song and assign a painting to it for half the songs. And then I was going to task myself to go, okay, what did you respond to? This is a picture of Salvator Mundi, this picture of Christ. You're going to write a song called Unfinished World, and this is what it's going to be about. And I did. 80% of the material now is all new, but there are some stuff that I'm like scattered. There's a song called Scattered that I sing with Jackson Pollock, like the vision of Jackson Pollock. And that I always imagined the song being like a Jackson Pollock painting, but never wrote it about Jackson Pollock. And then once I knew I found a Pollock, and I was like, this is Scattered. I rewrote the back half and brought Pollock's voice into it. And he sort of talked to me about creating. So it continues to be a journey. And Sarah Bareilles is one of my best friends in the world, and she's an amazing writer. And she says, I say to her, do you ever feel like the last song you wrote, oh, that was it, I ain't got any more, that's it, I'm dry? She goes, yeah. She said, come sit next to me. That's how I feel about it. And because she says that to me, her vulnerability, admitting that, it empowers me to go, I'm okay, I'm safe. And that's what and I know she's going to write a million songs more, and I will too. But it's a dance, and it also is my biggest salvation as an actor, because I have a place to go that is creative, that nobody controls but me. And this business we do is so run by so many other opinions.
Other people.
Yes, and you can go from being on Broadway in the best musical of the year to being, okay, now I'm unemployed, and now I'm unemployed, and now I have to wait for somebody to say yes to me.
Yeah.
When I have all of this that I have inside of me to give and to share, and I just got to shine on. It's hard, and yet you must, because what I saw and witnessed of your whole cast, but you too, since I'm talking to you right now, you have to give me more of that. And you also have to find people now that are like, I saw you in Strange Loop, I've got some songs, would you ever want to come and sing? Yes. Or do you write poetry? Do you write songs? Do you write scripts, scores, pilots?
Do you know that I am utterly terrified of songwriting? And I played the piano for years and years before I sang. I still do not enjoy singing nearly as much as I enjoy playing this piano that is now hidden behind me, underneath all of my former dressing room stuff. I am utterly terrified of sitting at the piano and playing something, even playing a song that someone else wrote. I'm utterly terrified of. I have a degree in music, not in theater, anything, that I am supposed to teach people how to play that thing. And
what can you tell me why? Like if you had to, like, for
I
all of
think
us,
it's
why is the
probably,
terror?
this is probably a few sessions away from therapy. Like in a few weeks, we'll get to this one. But I think that it's the most vulnerable. And if there are mistakes in it, if my thumb hits the wrong something, I really fucked up.
Mm.
There's control in that I'm not letting go of. There's it's the
There's
most vulnerable.
there's also the greatest devil of oppression in the world,
Mhm.
perfectionism.
Oh,
Right.
Perfectionism is the
I
poison.
want it to be something that doesn't exist, which is
Yeah.
perfect.
Yes, and of course you do, because you've been bathing in these poisonous waters since you came into this
Ah,
world. But I will say, and I wrote about this morning in my pages, I'm allowed to write crappy songs. I'm allowed to, because the true, I'm allowed to not be, I'm allowed to just, Sarah told me this, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Like,
yeah,
you don't have to
mm,
make something better than anybody else. That's just, that's suppression. That's that thing that, and it's poisonous
mhm.
to all of us. And
It
yeah.
really, yeah.
it's so unfair, because there's an amazing quote that you need to read by Martha Graham to Agnes DeMille. Do you know this?
Yes,
I do know
yes.
that it's
I live by
wonderful.
it. I
It is
live by it.
the letter. Yes, it's. Oh my God.
She says, it's not your job to determine how good it is, nor how it compares to other people's expressions. It is only your job to keep it unique and yours. Keep the channel open. No artist is ever pleased. There is no satisfaction whatever. There is only a queer, divine dissatisfaction, a blessed unrest that
Blessed
makes us
unrest.
alive and keeps us marching and makes us more alive than the others.
Yeah.
And Sarah's record that she got nominated for 5 Grammys for is called The Blessed Unrest, because she knew that, and we bonded over this.
Mhm.
I can't tell you, James, and both of you, get that, put it on your wall, and read
Yeah.
her words every day, because
Yeah.
it's literally permission to not, you don't even, one of the things, you don't even have to believe in yourself or your work.
Mm.
You just have
Right.
to stay open. Like, you don't, how it compares to
Yeah.
others. And it takes courage and vulnerability to believe what she's saying, because it's
Yeah.
really easy to go, oh yeah, it's all well and good for Martha Graham because she's Martha Graham.
Right.
Right.
So are you, bitch. You're Martha Graham, and you're Martha Graham, and I'm Martha Graham.
Right. Right. My God.
I want
Oh
you on that
man.
piano. Get those dressing room
I
dregs
will.
off that piano and get your fingers. I want
Wow.
that thumb. I want that thumb hitting all the wrong
All of the
notes.
wrong notes.
Yes.
Okay.
And
I
you
will.
should set a goal. Duke Ellington, I don't need inspiration. I
Mm.
need a deadline. Give yourself a
That's
goal.
true.
Give yourself a goal. I'd say 6 friends and 8 bottles of wine, or 3 friends and 8 bottles of wine.
But then
But
do math
And
in
but
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
invite them over, pop the wine, and then say, I'm going to do a salon for 3 of my closest friends, or 3 people that I know will just lift me, and thumb it out. Just bunk, bunk, bunk. And that's the place to start. Be
Okay.
bad. Start
I
with bad.
love it.
Oh, I
I love it.
absolutely love that.
You got to do
Start
it.
with
I love
bad. Start with bad. Yeah, I love it.
you're robbing me of your brilliance. It's actually rude. What you're doing
I'm
is
actually
kind of
being
dickish.
rude. I'm actually being rude.
You
I will
are.
fix that. And I apologize from the bottom of my heart related area. Um
I love it.
ah Jam, should we play a game?
Oh
Let's do
wait,
it.
do we want to do well? We had one more question, but I mean, it's been such a delicious conversation.
If you
I mean,
ask me the one question, I will give you a soundbite answer. So it will take
well, I
literally
don't know
30 seconds.
if we
Okay.
can, but like,
Okay.
Well, I think
because
so.
walk on
Get
through there's several religious images,
Oh, yes.
and it seemed like you weren't always ready to deal with them, and we just closed a show that dealt with all of
all
that
of that.
too.
Yeah.
The gay
Yes, like,
boy religion spirituality story theme. Is there a story there about religion and
or
sexuality?
is that
How
the
are
next
you all
show?
with all of that today? Yeah.
I'm gonna my next project that I just started picking away at is gonna be a queer story. I want every story I'm writing is gonna be queer, because there's not enough stories about us. Um,
Mhm.
but I think I will always grapple with religion, because it was the first main line that was a staple of my family. It was
Mhm.
still is in my parents very much. I think it
Mhm.
pains them that I don't
Hmm.
have a relationship with the church anymore, but
Mhm.
it's my piece and what I found for myself. But I think it will always be present in all of my writing. I'm writing a song right now. I've been writing it for a long time, but I'm going to finish it. Called Prayers, Presence, Gifts, and Service, which are the 4 things you have to swear to as Methodist in confirmation. You have to give prayers, you have to give your presence, like being there,
Right.
your gifts, tithing and all that, and your service. And it's sort of a tongue-in-cheek song about like it's like God or the church saying prayers, presence, gifts, and service. You give it and I'll give you my love. It's all about like you got to give me these 4 things and you'll get. And I said, that ain't it. Like it's not conditional. God's love is unconditional, which I believe. So it's a complicated thing, but Walk On Through sort of scratches the surface and touches on it. Also, there's a song about sexual shame that I lean into called Hands on You, which is about all the statues that I want to fuck in the museum.
The butts.
Oh my God, it's so much fun. But it's like a real come to Jesus that like I have shame in me because of you. And I know it's not because of you. It's because of man misinterpreting. I think I personally think, and I'll probably get struck by lightning, but I think Jesus was gay. I think he hung out with a bunch of disciples who were men. I think he was a hippie. I think he socialized with all of the people that Christianity now tells everyone that they shouldn't socialize with, or they've got to convert and make them believe. I'm just like, bless you on your journey, but I think you are not seeing who Christ was really about. And that's my belief anyway.
His best Judy was a hoe. Come on.
It's so true. It's so true.
Like,
it's so true. Yeah.
That makes me very happy.
I don't mean it in a disrespectful sense.
No.
But I mean it in a way that like I want to think deeper and longer about they were human beings. And if Jesus was the Son of God, which I think we all have within us, I think, let's say it was real. He was the Son of God that lived the most full to his potential, that he lived with grace and love from the second he was born till his 33rd birthday when we killed him. I think he just was able to live God's love so fully, which we all have the potential to do, that he was able to turn fish into fishes and loaves of bread. And, I don't know.
Things.
I love all those stories. When actually he was probably just really wonderful to everybody he met. And therefore,
just a good person.
And people thought he's magic. He was magic because he does what you do on stage for me when I'm sitting watching you. You give, you're vulnerable, you're open, you're listening. And I don't know. It's hippy dippy doodle stuff, but I believe it.
It's
wonderful.
Like the hippy dippy doodle stuff.
Okay, what's our game?
Gavin Creel.
Now,
yes.
there are 2 games.
Creel.
One of them, of course, is better than the other.
Okay.
Jam's game will be the first one that Jam stands behind.
Okay.
Jam, would you like to explain your
See, when I talk about filter, my thing, my thing. Gavin Creel, it's now time to play the most wonderful, delicious, glorious game in the world, and it's called Stinky Mouth, Sloppy Mouth. And here's how Stinky Mouth, Sloppy Mouth works.
Okay.
Gavin Creel, you have to enact a passionate, romantic kiss upon the stage.
Okay.
Your co-star is perfectly wonderful, glorious.
Yes.
But they have enjoyed maybe a salmon burger or 2. Or B, their mouth is perfectly fresh, but they just have a lot of excessive saliva, rendering them a sloppy mouth. So, Gavin Creel, are you choosing to kiss the stinky mouth or the sloppy mouth?
Without any hesitation, and I'm telling on myself a little bit, sloppy all day long, sloppy. Because I actually am into it. I dig it. Give it to me, all of it.
Give me the slap. What?
Yeah.
What? Give it me the slap. Okay.
Yeah.
So no stinky mouth for you.
And we'll have a salmon burger afterwards. Yeah.
That's a way to do it. Not that I'm participating, but I'm just saying that is technically a way to do it. We'll have the salmon
Yes.
burger after. I'm
Yes.
glad that portion of the thing is over.
Yeah.
The second game is this. It is in the title. It's called Pick a Pair of Patties. I'm going to
Okay.
give you a scenario, and
Okay.
your job, just as the title dictates, is to pick a pair of patties.
I love it.
The scenario is a bank heist. So you have been hired. You need to rob a bank. You need to
Okay.
hire someone to be the heavy, do the give me all your money, and then you need to hire someone to drive the getaway car.
Okay.
Your patties from which to choose your pair are Patty LaPone,
Oh.
Patty Mirren, and America's sweetheart, Patty LaBelle.
Oh. Okay. One is I know who is that. Do I have to pick from those three?
You
Yeah.
must pick from those three patties a pair of patties, one to be the heavy and one to drive the getaway car. Patty Mirren, Patty LaBelle, and Patty LaPone.
I mean, Patty LaPone is absolutely the heavy. She has got that gun. No one's gonna not do what she says.
I agree. Firmly.
And it's gotta be I love Patty Murin with all my heart, but Patty LaBelle is gonna drive that car faster than anybody. She's there's nobody can do that better. Nobody. And she can wail to me the whole way out. She'd be like, "Oh!"
Right.
Get us out
I
of there.
do think the playlist would be excellent.
Oh yeah.
It would
Oh
be.
yeah. Can I just say something, James? Because of the connection, I thought you said I was ready and I was laughing because I thought you said pick a pair of panties.
Nice.
I mean,
And I was like, wow, we are going from sloppiness to sloppiness. I'm in. And to that, I would say I'll take Patty Murin's panties.
I'm going to let her know that. I'm
Please
definitely
do.
going to let her know that.
gosh.
Please do.
I will.
Let her know that we're clipping this out. This is going on social media tomorrow.
I mean, let's do it.
Gavin Creel, we thank you.
Thank you for
doing
having
this.
me. Such a blast.
We're honored that you would do this.
Truly, it was the easiest thing to say yes to because I just have such respect and love for both of your talents, and it's so nice to get to know you more in this setting. And I hope we can hang out and go have food and salmon burgers. And
I would love that.
be sloppy.
I would absolutely love that.
That'd be a blast.
I'm just wondering, is there any upcoming stuff that you need to promote? You're going on the Into the Woods tour. Is there any other, and like what are the
March
things that you-
13th? March 13th. I just found this out. We're going to do a one night concert at the Terrace Theater, and in Washington D.C. at the Kennedy Center. I'm going to do a little walk on through mini sharing with just guitar and piano. So if people are in the DC area on the 13th of March, come on down to the Terrace Theater.
Fabulous. That's fantastic. And then and you started have you started rehearsals and all that for the tour?
We start the new people we have a few great new people that are joining us. They'll start on the 26th, and then we start tomorrow, and then we start on the 3rd, and then our first stop is in Washington D.C. We'll be there at the Kennedy Center for a month, so it's gonna be a blast.
All right.
I
Amazing. James, can you set up one wish for?
Yes. So we always end our show with one wish, which is just something we like to send people off into the world for the week.
I love it.
And we choose one wish for really a multitude of reasons, but mainly for this one. We choose one wish because genies give you 3 wishes, and I don't like genies. So we give people one.
Good.
Jam, do you have one wish for the people this week?
Yeah, and it comes from this conversation today. So my one wish for people, and I've probably will word it incorrectly, but make a bad song, make a bad play, make a bad one of whatever the thing is that you want to create in this world. Make a bad one. Give yourself permission to make a bad one. I love that. So thank you for that, Gavin Creel. And
Thank you.
And I wish that for everyone. Make a bad one of the thing that you want to make.
I love that. I love that. Mine
'Cause
is going to be to use more thumb.
yes.
Just use more thumb. You have two of them. Use them.
Some people don't.
Some people don't. Some people are just really going through
Just
life over here, just like trying it out. I say use more thumb. I'm going to, as soon as we get off of this, I'm going to go
you
over
got
here
to. You've
and
got
I'm
to.
going to use my thumbs
Good.
and see what that feels like. So just I wish that for everyone to use more thumb this week. What about you, Gavin Creel? Do you have a
It's
wish for the
it's
folks?
yes, it's easy. Um, meet more wonderful people like you two. Have let yourself meet new people. If you respond like I did to people the way I did to the two of you, reach out and tell them because it means the world. It's what was the girl's name that went Jam?
Jody
Oh,
Holung.
Jody Holong.
Yeah, so this is for the Jody Holongs. Heather Mazer was the first person who ever listened to me play a song. Your mother next to you teaching
Yeah,
you the power of that piano. Like
yeah.
when you may you meet people as cool as you two and then reach out to them and just say thank you.
Yeah.
Mm,
Thank you so much for this. This has been a
Yeah.
blast.
thank you.
Oh, it was great. Jody was my guest for opening night for my Broadway debut.
No way.
Yeah.
That's
She flew up from
amazing.
Jamaica. It was awesome. It was
Oh, I
awesome.
love it.
She's quite wonderful.
I love it.
Gavin Creel, you're magnificent and scintillating and glorious, delicious and tremendous. It has
And we
been
thank you.
Thank
an
you.
honor. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.